Good afternoon, boys and birds. My name is Adam Cleary, joined by Andy Murray for a hot fried slice of your good afternoons. Now, normally, we wouldn't darken your door with a second video because you get full up, you get all your news, nutrition from the morning show. But, oh my gosh. The Observer's out, and Andy's here to tell you about a huge power struggle inside WWE, and if anything, I'm underselling it.
Yeah. This seems like a big, all-encompassing thing with lots of different waves and layers and everything else. And guess who is at the heart of it? Given recent stories surrounding NXT, it's your pal, Papa H, Triple H, Paul Levesque, The Game. What else? Terrorizing. What other names has he gone by? Hunter Hearst Helmsley. He's in the middle of this.
Trips.
Dave Meltzer, Wrestling Observer newsletter. So this comes from, he starts the report talking about recent events in NXT, the releases, the big changes coming to the brand, which we've covered a lot, obviously, over the past week or so. Part of this is apparently down to a power struggle in WWE between Triple H's supporters and people who fear for their jobs if Triple H ever comes into power and are thus working to undermine him in this situation. Those sides are clashing and you're kind of seeing it play out publicly now, but this is the first kind of concrete report on any kind of power struggle. It goes on. Obviously, this comes at a tumultuous time with NXT and the releases and everything else. But Triple H, of course, was once considered untouchable in WWE. He was the heir apparent. He was taking the throne whenever Vince stepped away. He was going to be the guy in charge. And obviously, these people who were, worried about their job should that ever happen, stuff is now going on with them. There's no names mentioned here. Dave's not going, it was this guy and this woman and this person and everyone else. It's, unnamed sources at play, but there's a whole lot of things going on. The Wednesday Night War, apparently part of this. AEW NXT was put there to kind of curb that growth, stop them, everything else. Triple H obviously failed at that. Even when it was considered within the wrestling business and the television business that NXT would dominate with WWE support on Wednesday nights, they did not. That didn't happen, and that gave ammunition for people who are not on Triple H's side. NXT failed to appeal to the younger demographics in the long run, and it actually has continued to fail to do so as well since being shunted onto Tuesday night. So there's more stuff as well. The situation is called toxic, is the exact word here, by internal sources. You don't want to bring out the T word on a Friday afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's been called a power grab in which people are looking after their own positions with talents considered pawns. Now, there's more to this, some reasons we're going to get into in a minute or so, but opening the floor to you, Adam Cleary, for your initial thoughts on this.
First of all, but the thing that gets me most about this is that we are literally, as you point out, they're seeing it play out on television. Now, behind the scenes power struggles are not uncommon. They happen in every wrestling promotion. They happen in every business. Where you work, there is some kind of internal power struggle, even if it's over the coffee machine or something. You so rarely see it enacted out on live television, the consequences of it, because some of the booking we've seen of some of the talents coming from NXT makes no sense. The Karrion Kross thing was absolutely bizarre. The Dakota Kai situation is absolutely bizarre. It doesn't really tally with a healthy, well-organized wrestling company. And to hear that part of this is down to an internal power struggle who may or may not be taking a higher position years down the line is just... I don't understand how any company can operate like this. Yes, we should be hearing these reports. Of course, when Vince eventually steps down, there's going to be some huge seismic shift in the way the company operates and who's here and who stays and who goes and what happens. Of course. But to see that being played out in the contradictory booking and the nonsensical scripted televised operations of the company is insane.
It's wild, isn't
How
it?
are they letting this play out on television?
And the write-up does actually mention, here as well, Karrion Kross's losing start to main roster life is a consequence of this, according to the report here. As is Dakota Kai, who is going to challenge as a heel, having done a big turn angle. Well, she's been heel for a while, but she turned on Raquel. she's going to challenge for the title as a heel next week. She was on Main Event playing a crowd-pleasing babyface this week, losing to Aaliyah, so that was part of it as well. You know, you've seen other things as well, like this isn't mentioned here, but like Tegan Knox comes back, seemingly starts the program with Candice LeRae. No, off you go, main roster, new tag partner. Obviously Candice is pregnant and that couldn't happen anyway. But there are other examples of where NXT stuff has just been ignored when people have gone to the main roster. But yeah, NXT is kind of like the battleground here by the sound of it. Triple H overstocking the brand with wrestlers that Vince McMahon perceives to not be suitable for the main roster is a source of concern, apparently. There's a line here about how an ideology within WWE is that when wrestlers come into WWE and work NXT, they have to beat the indie out of them, and yet then when they go to the main roster, they have to beat the NXT out of them. You can kind of see where this comes from, right? Because NXT has this kind of really talented group of super workers, really talented, wonderful athletes, everything else, but they're not the type of people that Vince McMahon sees as main roster stars. For better or worse, he wants those younger athletes, those bigger athletes, people he can groom from scratch, people who are going to pass his old airport test. There's, you know, obviously we all have our own opinions on that. We hate to see people lose their jobs, and you know, NXT's been a tremendous product for a long time, but you know, just unpacking Vince McMahon's views on these things, as twisted and weird as they may be. Stockpiling wrestlers to prevent other promotions from signing them has undoubtedly been part of this roster below. This is me just editorializing here, and the fact is, if they hadn't had almost 300 wrestlers on the roster earlier this year, a consequence of talent hoarding, so many people wouldn't have had to lose their jobs this year. More stuff here from the report here from Dave. I mean, basically the philosophical shift in NXT is key here. You do have this massive army of wrestlers who Vince is never going to push on the main roster, and when NXT is supposed to be developmental, that's going to cause problems. It's going to cause obvious problems. But NXT not hitting the road is another part of this. They haven't even talked about doing that post-pandemic, and when you have this roster of green wrestlers who need training and need reps, that's an issue as well. So that's the crux of the situation. Political stuff is going on. It's a crazy time. Lot to pack in.
I think the fundamental, this all goes, I mean, you can take this right back to the talent blow, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a little bit, but when they made that decision to move NXT onto television, they needed a really clear idea of what they envisaged the brand to be and what they wanted it to do. Because I remember that first Survivor Series came around, we were trying to, like, certainly on this channel, trying to stop using the term moving up to the main roster, because it was another televised show. It was doing not comparable numbers to Raw or SmackDown, but it was certainly on the same footing, the same platform. You were supposed to perceive it and receive it with the same level of sort of, like, you know, credibility. Yeah. So we tried to start saying just moving to, moving away from, moving this, moving that. But clearly WWE didn't see it that way. They still saw taking a talent from NXT to the quote-unquote main roster as a step up, both in terms of what was expected of them and what they had to do in order to get that. But NXT at the same time wasn't booking itself like that. It wasn't really giving much screen time to people who were green. It was trying to make itself the best televised wrestling product it could. It became this real bizarre mesh and mix of like what they wanted, and some people were on the traditional NXT journey, some people were using it as developmental, some people were trying to elevate the brand to win a fictional Wednesday Night War. They have not known what to do with this for over a year now, and now lo and behold, it's a mess. Yeah. And that mess is now carrying through into the day-to-day running of the company behind the scenes, which is now spilling forward into like the television that we're all trying to watch. It's just, it's horrible and it's nonsensical, but it was so predictable at the same time. Yeah, it really was, and it sucks to say that. I mean, it sucks to read lines like in the report here about the talent being considered pawns in this, because that's people's livelihoods. Bronson Reed moved over, bought a house in Florida. Asher Hill, the former Anthony Henry, moved to Florida. He didn't think he was ever going to get another chance in wrestling. He gets this chance, and he gets released 6 months earlier because he's not what Vince perceives as someone who's going to be a main roster star in all of this. It's a consequence of a lot of things. The great indie boom of the mid-2010s, of course, here and in America, like the UK, the ITV wrestling and stuff. Unfortunately, a lot more goes into this than we have time to discuss here, unless you want us to go 50 minutes. Could if you want. I could very easily go 50 minutes on that.
I know you love this face in particular. This one's a bit of a mirror breaker, admittedly. But yeah, man, like there's so much to unpack with this. I'm sure we'll have more content on this situation because it's going to grow and it's going to develop. It's a big story, and we'll keep you updated as best we can for the duration of that. But any closing thoughts?
Just WWE spent the better part of 3 years looking at a global talent explosion and then laughing heartily as they began reaping certain things, and now they're looking at what they've sowed and it's like, oh, this is terrible, I didn't want this. I didn't want like generational talents now leaving feeling like they've been wasted for a couple of years and going back out into the world to, I mean, genuinely, this could start potentially another indie boom. The amount of talent that's about to be released there who feel like maybe they've wasted some time, maybe they've not been used properly. We could see another indie boom. I'd love us to see another indie boom as a result of this. But right, for WWE, God knows what they do. No doubt it's not, we're not talking that the company won't survive this. They're far too big to fail based off like talent problems like this, but they are coming up to a very, very critical point in the company's history where they are going to have to transition from Vince to somebody else. And if all this is going on backstage between the potential people who could be sitting in that big chair, I mean, your guess is as good as mine with what happens there.
Looking incredibly increasingly difficult to predict that company's makeup in the future. They are, of course, richer than gods, but perception means a lot, and we'll see how these things pan out. But like you say, the rainbow at the end of this storm, lots of talent are flooding the market now. A lot of potential for a lot of companies to do a lot of good things with these talented men and women that have been let go, and we'll see what happens to NXT. We'll see 7 months from now if it's all guys who are 7 foot tall and whatever else. Hey, let's see how it plays out.
We'll see if it's still there.
We will indeed. We will indeed. Thank you for joining us on the news coaster.
It was a roller coaster of news today.
Surely was. We've been here, there, and everywhere. You can follow us on Twitter at WhatCulture WWE. You can follow Adam Cleary at
Adam Cleary Clery, and my colleague here.
You can follow me at Andy H Murray. The H. I gave you one in the morning. Horrible. There we go. See you later.